Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance, watching the stars through the main viewing screen. 3 years had passed since humanity joined the Galactic Confederation. 3 years of learning from alien species who had traveled the stars for thousands of years. 3 years of thinking they had found friends among the stars. The Confederation was made up of 12 different alien races. The tall, blue-skinned Altarians who spoke in musical tones. The insect-like Zephyrins, with their clicking language. The peaceful Valdris who never seemed to get angry about anything. All of them had welcomed humanity with open arms, or whatever they had instead of arms. Chen had been proud when they picked her to command one of the first human ships to join a mixed fleet. The Defiance was small compared to the massive alien vessels, but it was fast and tough. The aliens said humans were good fighters, maybe too good for their own good sometimes. They laughed when they said it, but Chen always wondered what they really meant. Today, they were heading to the Kepler system to deal with pirates. The Zerathi were a problem that had been growing for months. They attacked trade ships and stole cargo. The Confederation decided it was time to stop them once and for all. Lieutenant Marcus Webb, her tactical officer, looked up from his station. "Captain, I'm getting some strange readings from the alien ships." Chen walked over to his station. Webb was young but smart. If he said something was strange, she listened. "What kind of strange?" "They're sending coded messages to each other. But we're supposed to be using open channels for this mission. Everyone should hear everything, right?" Chen frowned. That was the rule. During joint operations, all ships used the same communication frequencies. It helped prevent accidents and friendly fire. "Are you sure they're not just routine system checks?" Webb shook his head. "No, Captain. These are targeted messages. And they're encrypted with codes we don't have." Chen felt a cold feeling in her stomach. She had learned to trust her instincts during her years in the military. Right now, those instincts were screaming that something was wrong. "Keep monitoring those signals," she told Webb, "and don't let anyone know you're doing it." The fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel near Kepler Station. It was a small mining outpost that the pirates had been using as a base. The plan was simple. The alien ships would surround the station, while the human ships went in first, to draw out the pirates. Chen had thought it was odd that humans always went first in these operations. The aliens said it was because human ships were faster and humans were better at close combat. But looking at it now, she wondered if there was another reason. "Captain," Webb called out. "The coded messages are increasing, and I think I've figured out what they're saying." Chen's blood turned to ice. "Tell me." "They're not talking about the pirates, Captain. They're talking about us, about targeting coordinates for human ships." Before Chen could respond, the ship's warning system started screaming. Red lights flashed across the bridge as the sensors detected weapons being aimed at them. "Captain," the helmsman shouted. "The alien ships are targeting us." Chen's mind raced. In seconds, she made the decision that would save her ship and crew. "All power to engines, get us out of here now." The Defiance lurched forward as the engines fired at maximum power. Behind them, blue energy beams lit up space where they had been just moments before. The beams came from the Confederation ships, not from the pirates. "Communications. Send a message to all human ships," Chen ordered. "We're under attack from the Confederation fleet. Repeat, we are under attack from our allies." But it was too late for most of them. Chen watched in horror as the alien ships systematically destroyed the human vessels. The UES Courage exploded in a ball of fire. The UES Liberty broke apart under concentrated fire from 3 Altarian cruisers. The UES Freedom tried to run but got cut down by Zephyrin fighters. "Captain, I'm detecting human ships throughout the system," Webb reported, his voice shaking. "They're all under attack. The aliens aren't just targeting us, they're targeting every human ship in the fleet." Chen gripped the armrest of her command chair. "How many of our ships are left?" Webb's fingers flew over his controls. After a moment, that felt like forever, he looked up with tears in his eyes. 12 ships out of 60, Captain. That's all that's left." The Defiance shook as enemy fire struck their rear shields. Chen knew they couldn't keep running forever. The alien ships were faster over long distances. "Captain, the communications," officer called out. I'm getting a transmission from Admiral Parker on the UES Valiant. Admiral Parker's face appeared on the screen. His ship was badly damaged, smoke filling the bridge behind him. All remaining human ships, this is Admiral Parker. We've been betrayed. The entire Confederation fleet has turned on us. Use Emergency Protocol 7. Get home and warn Earth. The signal cut off as the Valiant exploded in the distance. Chen closed her eyes for a moment, then opened them with new determination. Set course for Earth, maximum speed. Captain, Webb said quietly. Why did they do this? We were allies. We trusted them. Chen stared at the stars ahead of them. I don't know, Marcus, but we're going to find out, and we're going to make them pay for what they've done. The journey home took 3 weeks. During that time, the surviving human ship shared information. The picture that emerged was terrifying. The attack had been planned and coordinated. Every human ship in the fleet had been targeted at the same time. It wasn't a sudden decision or a misunderstanding. It was cold, calculated murder. When the Defiance finally reached Earth, Chen barely recognized the planet's defenses. Emergency fleets were gathering in orbit. Military bases that had been shut down for decades were coming back online. Humanity was preparing for war. Chen met with the surviving captains at Earth Defense Command. General Morrison, the head of Earth's military, looked older than his years. The betrayal had aged everyone. We lost 48 ships and over 30,000 people, Morrison said. But that's not the worst part. Our intelligence suggests this was just the beginning. The Confederation isn't just cutting ties with us. They're planning to wipe us out completely. Captain Rodriguez from the UES Phoenix spoke up. Why? What did we do wrong? Morrison pulled up a holographic display showing alien ship movements throughout the galaxy. According to our analysis, they're afraid of us. Afraid of how fast we learn, how quickly we adapt. In 3 years, we've gone from barely having space travel to building ships that can match theirs. They think we're going to become a threat. To them. Chen felt anger burning in her chest. So they decided to kill us all before we could defend ourselves. Morrison nodded. That's exactly what they decided. But they made one mistake. They didn't finish the job. And now they're going to learn what happens when you betray humanity. Outside the windows of the command center, Earth's shipyards worked around the clock. New ships were being built. New weapons were being designed. Humanity had been peaceful when they joined the Confederation. But that time was over. The aliens had wanted to destroy humanity before they became dangerous. Instead, they had just made humanity very, very angry. And an angry human was something the galaxy had never seen before. Admiral Helena Vasquez walked through the underground bunker that had become Earth's new military headquarters. The old surface buildings were too easy to target from space. Everything important had moved underground in the 3 months since the Kepler Station massacre. The interrogation room was small and cold. Inside, a Zephyrin prisoner sat chained to a metal chair. Its insect-like eyes moved back and forth, watching everything. The creature had been captured when its scout ship was shot down over the Pacific Ocean. Dr. James Harrison stood beside a table full of alien technology. He was Earth's top expert on alien biology and technology. Before the betrayal, he had been excited to study their new friends. Now he studied them to find ways to kill them. Have you learned anything useful? Vasquez asked. Harrison picked up a small device that looked like a crystal. This is more than just a communication device. It's been recording everything. Every conversation, every piece of data, every military secret we've shared with them for 3 years. Vasquez felt sick. They've been spying on us the whole time. Worse than that, Harrison continued. These devices were in every piece of technology they gave us. Our ships, our computers, our communication networks. They know everything about us, our population numbers, our military strength, the location of every major city. The Zephyrin prisoner made a clicking sound that might have been laughter. Vasquez walked over to it. You think this is funny? She asked. The alien spoke in broken English. Humans, too dangerous. Had to be stopped. You reproduce too fast, learn too fast. In 50 years you would have been unstoppable. Vasquez leaned closer. So you decided to commit genocide. Not genocide. The Zephyrin clicked. Pest control. Harrison grabbed Vasquez's arm before she could hit the alien. Admiral, we need it alive. It might have more information. Vasquez took a deep breath and stepped back. What else have you found? Harrison led her to another table covered with data tablets. We've been analyzing the communication logs from the surviving ships. The Confederation has been planning this for over a year. They have detailed maps of our solar system, our defense networks, everything. How long do we have? According to the prisoner, the main invasion fleet will arrive in 6 months. They're bringing ships from all 12 member species. It's going to be the largest military force in galactic history. Vasquez sat down heavily in a chair. The numbers were impossible. Humanity had maybe 200 ships left. The aliens were bringing thousands. There's something else, Harrison said quietly. We found sleeper agents. What do you mean? Aliens who have been living on Earth, pretending to be our friends. They've been here for years, maybe since first contact. They're in our governments, our military, our research centers. Vasquez's blood turned cold. How many? We don't know yet, but we've identified at least 50 so far. They've been using some kind of shape-changing technology to look human. The implications hit Vasquez like a physical blow. They know everything. Our plans, our capabilities, our weaknesses. Harrison nodded. But there's some good news. The technology they use for disguises has limitations. We've developed scanners that can detect them, and we're learning to use their own technology against them. Over the next few weeks, the hunt for sleeper agents became a priority. Special teams with Harrison's scanners swept through government buildings, military bases, and research facilities. The results were terrifying. Senator Williams, who had been pushing for peaceful surrender, turned out to be a Valdris operative. General Chen, who had access to Earth's nuclear codes, was actually an Altarian spy. Dr. Martinez, who had been working on Earth's defense systems, was a Zephyrin agent. Each discovery made it clear how thoroughly the Confederation had infiltrated human society. They had been planning humanity's destruction since the day they made first contact, but the aliens had made one crucial mistake. They underestimated human adaptability. Harrison worked 18-hour days in his laboratory, taking apart alien technology piece by piece. He wasn't just trying to understand it, he was improving it. The aliens are more advanced than us, he explained to Vasquez during one of her visits. But they're also more limited. They've been using the same basic technology for thousands of years. They don't innovate the way humans do. Harrison held up a weapon that looked like it had been built from spare parts. This is based on an Altarian energy rifle, but I've modified the power source and targeting system. It's 3 times more powerful than the original. Vasquez picked up the weapon. It felt crude compared to the smooth alien designs, but it felt deadly. How many of these can we make? That's the beauty of it. We don't need rare alien materials. This version uses common Earth elements. We can mass produce them. In hidden factories around the world, humans began building weapons and ships using stolen alien designs. But these weren't copies. They were improvements. Human engineers added features the aliens had never thought of. Human weapons were rougher, but they were also more powerful and more flexible. The underground war had already begun. Sleeper agents who had escaped the initial sweeps began sabotaging human facilities. Alien scout ships probed Earth's defenses. Small battles broke out across the solar system as advance forces tested human responses. Colonel Maria Santos led a team that hunted down alien agents in South America. She had learned to think like the enemy, to anticipate their moves. Her team had eliminated 15 agents in the past month. They're getting desperate, she reported to Vasquez during a video call. The agents are making mistakes, taking bigger risks. I think they're under pressure to gather intelligence before the main fleet arrives. Dr. Yuki Tanaka worked in a hidden laboratory in Japan, developing new technologies based on captured alien equipment. She had made breakthroughs in faster-than-light communication and advanced materials. We're not just keeping up with them anymore, she told Harrison during one of their regular video conferences. In some areas, we're getting ahead of them. But the most important discovery came from an unexpected source. A group of human archaeologists working on Mars found something that changed everything. The ruins were ancient, millions of years old, but the technology was recognizable. It was human technology, far more advanced than anything Earth had ever built. "We've been here before," Harrison explained to a meeting of Earth's top leaders. "Humanity has spread across the galaxy before. We are not the primitive species the aliens think we are. We're the children of an ancient human civilization." Admiral Vasquez studied the images from Mars. Ancient human cities, vast shipyards, weapons that could destroy planets. What happened to them? We don't know yet, but we're learning from what they left behind. And what we're learning is going to change everything. The discovery explained why the aliens were so afraid of humanity. It wasn't just about humans being aggressive or innovative. It was about humans being the descendants of a species that had once ruled the galaxy. As the months passed, Earth's defenses grew stronger. New ships rolled out of hidden shipyards. New weapons were distributed to military units. New technologies gave humans advantages the aliens didn't expect. The invasion fleet was still coming. Thousands of alien ships carrying millions of soldiers. They expected to find a primitive species barely capable of space travel. Instead, they were going to find something else entirely. They were going to find humanity's answer to betrayal. And it was going to be written in fire and blood across the stars. Harrison stood in his laboratory looking at his latest creation. It was a small device no bigger than his hand, but it contained enough power to destroy an entire alien battle fleet. "They wanted to eliminate us before we became dangerous," he said to himself. Too late. Outside, the first ships of Earth's new fleet were leaving orbit, heading out to meet the alien invasion force. The war was about to begin. The first alien ships appeared in Earth's solar system on a Tuesday morning. Sarah Chen watched from the bridge of the rebuilt Defiance as enemy vessels emerged from faster-than-light travel near Jupiter. There were hundreds of them, sleek and deadly, their hulls gleaming in the sunlight. "Contact!" Lieutenant Webb called out from his station. Confederation fleet detected. Estimated strength, 800 ships. Chen felt her heart pound, but her voice stayed steady. "Signal the fleet. All ships to battle stations." Around Earth, humanity's response began. It wasn't the response the aliens expected. The ships that rose to meet them looked nothing like the crude human vessels from 3 years ago. These ships were bigger, faster, and covered in weapons that the aliens had never seen before. They moved like hunting wolves, coordinated and deadly, but the real surprise wasn't in space. It was on the ground. Colonel Maria Santos crouched in the ruins of São Paulo, watching alien dropships land in the city center. The Confederation had expected to find panicking humans running for shelter. Instead, they found empty streets and abandoned buildings. The humans were underground. 3 months ago, every major city on Earth had been quietly evacuated. The populations had moved into vast underground complexes that had been built in secret. The aliens were landing in ghost towns, walking into carefully prepared traps. Santos spoke quietly into her radio. "All units, they're in position. Begin, Phase 1. Across the city, hidden weapons opened fire. The alien soldiers, confident in their superiority, suddenly found themselves under attack from all directions. Buildings that looked empty exploded outward, revealing human soldiers with weapons that hit harder than anything in the alien arsenal. The Zephyrin troops tried to take cover, but there was nowhere to hide. Every piece of debris, every abandoned car, every pile of rubble had been rigged with explosives or hidden weapons. The humans had turned their own cities into death traps. In Tokyo, Dr. Yuki Tanaka watched from her underground command center as alien ships tried to land at the spaceport. The ships touched down smoothly, their crews probably congratulating themselves on an easy victory. Then the ground opened up beneath them. The entire spaceport was fake. Underneath was a massive pit filled with spikes made from salvaged alien ship hulls. The ships crashed down into the trap, their crews killed instantly. "Phase 2 is go," Tanaka said into her microphone. From hidden launchers around the city, Missiles streaked up into the sky. But these weren't normal missiles. They were loaded with a new type of explosive that Harrison's team had developed from alien power cores. When they hit the alien ships in orbit, they didn't just explode. They burned through the hulls like acid, destroying everything inside. The aliens had expected to fight the humans they remembered from 3 years ago. Brave but primitive, with simple weapons and basic tactics. They had planned for a quick war against an inferior enemy. What they found instead was a species that had learned to fight dirty. In London, alien troops advanced through the financial district, their energy weapons ready. The buildings around them looked abandoned, but human eyes watched from hidden positions. Lieutenant James Parker, son of the admiral who had died at Kepler Station, waited until the aliens were in the perfect position. Then he spoke one word, into his radio. Now. The street erupted. Every manhole cover became a launching platform for human soldiers. Every window became a firing position. Every doorway became an ambush point. The aliens found themselves surrounded by enemies who knew every inch of the battlefield. But the humans weren't just using better tactics. They were using better weapons. The energy rifles that the aliens carried were powerful, but slow to recharge. The human weapons were crude-looking but fired continuously. When an alien soldier's weapon ran out of power, human bullets were still flying. The alien armor was designed to stop their own weapons. It wasn't designed to stop armor-piercing rounds made from salvaged alien ship hulls. In space, the battle was going just as badly for the Confederation fleet. Captain Chen watched as human ships swarmed around the larger alien vessels like angry bees. The aliens had brought massive battleships that could destroy planets. But those ships were slow and clumsy compared to the fast human fighters. Target their weapon systems, Chen ordered. Don't try to destroy them, just disable them. The human strategy was simple but effective. Instead of trying to match the alien ship for ship, they attacked weak points. Human fighters were small enough to avoid the big guns but fast enough to hit critical systems. Chen's ship fired a spread of missiles at an Altarian cruiser. The missiles looked small compared to the massive alien ship, but they had been designed specifically to exploit Altarian technology. When they hit, they sent electrical surges through the ship's systems, shutting down everything from weapons to life support. The cruiser drifted helplessly as human boarding teams cut their way inside. Admiral Vasquez coordinated the battle from her underground command center. Screens around her showed the fighting on a dozen different worlds. The aliens had attacked not just Earth but every human colony in space. They were losing on all of them. Admiral, a communications officer called out. We're getting reports from Alpha Centauri. The alien attack force there has been completely destroyed. Vasquez nodded. The humans on Alpha Centauri had only had a few hundred defenders, but they had been ready. When the alien ships arrived, they found the entire planet covered in hidden weapons, and the colonists waiting in underground shelters that were really military bunkers. What about the Mars facilities? Mars base reports victory as well. They used the ancient ruins as cover and destroyed the alien landing force. The ancient human ruins on Mars had provided more than just historical insight. They had provided weapons. Dr. Harrison's teams had been able to activate some of the ancient defense systems. When the aliens landed on Mars, they were attacked by weapons that were millions of years old but still deadly. Back on Earth, the ground battle was turning into a rout. The aliens had landed expecting to fight a conventional war against a primitive enemy. Instead, they found themselves in a nightmare of guerrilla warfare where every human was a soldier and every building was a fortress. Colonel Santos led her team through the underground tunnels beneath São Paulo. The aliens above ground were trapped and confused, but there were still pockets of resistance. Contact ahead, whispered Sergeant Rodriguez. Looks like a Valdris command post. Santos smiled grimly. The Valdris were supposed to be the peaceful ones, the diplomats of the Confederation. But they had been planning genocide just like the rest. Remember what they did to us, she told her team. No mercy. The human soldiers burst from the tunnels like demons from hell. The Valdris troops never had a chance. They were trained for peaceful negotiations, not close combat with humans who had been betrayed and wanted revenge. In space, the alien fleet was falling apart. Ships that had been confident of victory an hour ago were now trying to escape. But the humans weren't letting them go. Chen's fleet pursued the retreating aliens through the outer solar system. Every alien ship that tried to jump to faster than light speed found itself under attack by human fighters that seemed to come from nowhere. "Captain," Webb reported, "the alien command ship is trying to surrender." Chen looked at the massive Altarian flagship on her screen. It was the ship that had coordinated the attack at Kepler Station, the ship whose crew had murdered thousands of humans. "Tell them we don't accept surrenders," she said coldly. The human fleet closed in on the flagship, like a pack of wolves. When they were done, there was nothing left but debris. Dr. Harrison watched the battle from his laboratory deep underground. His screens showed the destruction of the alien fleet, the surrender of their ground forces, the complete failure of their invasion. 3 years ago, the aliens had thought humans were too dangerous to be allowed to live. They had been right, but not in the way they expected. Humans weren't dangerous because they were aggressive or warlike. They were dangerous because they learned. When someone betrayed them, they learned how to fight back. When someone tried to destroy them, they learned how to survive. And when someone underestimated them, they learned how to prove them wrong. The invasion was over. In less than 12 hours, the mighty Confederation fleet had been destroyed. Their ground forces were dead or captured. Their plan to eliminate humanity had failed completely. But this was just the beginning. Harrison looked at the new ships being built in Earth's hidden shipyards. Ships that were bigger and more powerful than anything the aliens had ever seen. Ships designed not for defense but for attack. The aliens had wanted to destroy humanity before they became dangerous. Instead, they had taught humanity exactly how dangerous they could be, and now it was humanity's turn to do the teaching. 6 months after the failed alien invasion, Admiral Helena Vasquez stood on the bridge of the UES Vengeance, flagship of humanity's new war fleet. Through the viewing ports, she could see dozens of human ships preparing for departure. These weren't the desperate defenders that had fought off the Confederation attack. These were hunters. The ship designs were completely new, built from the lessons learned during the invasion. They were larger than the old human ships, but smaller than the massive alien vessels. What made them deadly wasn't their size, but their speed and the weapons they carried. Dr. Harrison had outdone himself. The new human weapons could tear through alien armor like paper. The new engines could outrun anything in the Confederation fleet. And the new tactics that humanity had developed would turn the galaxy upside down. "Admiral," Captain Chen called from her position at the tactical station. "All ships report ready for jump." Vasquez nodded. "Signal the fleet. Destination, Proxima, Centauri. It's time to pay our former allies a visit." The journey to the nearest Confederation world took 3 days. During that time, Vasquez reviewed the intelligence that Earth's spies had gathered. The aliens were in panic. Word of their defeat at Earth had spread through their empire faster than their ships could travel. The Confederation Council was meeting in emergency session. Some members wanted to try negotiating with humanity. Others wanted to send more fleets to finish what they had started. But most were simply afraid. They had good reason to be afraid. When the human fleet arrived at Proxima Centauri, they found a heavily defended Altarian colony. Orbital weapons platforms surrounded the planet. Battle fleets patrolled the system. The aliens had learned from their defeat and were ready for a fight, but they were ready for the wrong kind of fight. "Begin Phase 1, Vasquez ordered. The human ships didn't attack the defenses directly. Instead, they scattered throughout the system like seeds in the wind. Small teams of ships attacked mining stations, communication relays, and supply convoys. They hit fast and disappeared before the defenders could respond. Within hours, the Altarian colony was cut off from the rest of their empire. No messages could get in or out. No supply ships could reach them. No reinforcements could find them. The aliens were used to fighting big battles between fleets of massive ships. They weren't ready for the guerrilla warfare that humans had perfected during the invasion of Earth. "Phase 2, Vasquez said. Now the human ships attacked the orbital defenses, but not the way the aliens expected. Instead of trying to destroy the weapons platforms, they boarded them. Human soldiers cut their way inside and turned the alien weapons against their own ships. Captain Rodriguez led one of the boarding teams. His soldiers moved through the alien station like ghosts, using their knowledge of alien technology to shut down defenses and take control of weapon systems. "This is too easy," one of his sergeants commented as they captured the station's command center. "Where are all the defenders?" Rodriguez smiled grimly. "They're waiting for us to attack their planet. They don't understand that we're not here to conquer. We're here to destroy." The aliens had built their defenses to protect against other aliens, who followed the rules of civilized warfare. Rules about targeting only military assets. Rules about protecting civilian populations. Rules about accepting surrender. Humans didn't follow those rules anymore. When the orbital defenses were under human control, Vasquez gave the order that changed everything. Target all population centers. Begin bombardment. The alien weapons platforms turned their guns on the planet below. Cities that had stood for thousands of years disappeared in flashes of light. Millions of Altarians died in the first few minutes. Captain Chen watched the destruction on her screens. Part of her felt sick at what they were doing. But she remembered Kepler Station. She remembered the betrayal. She remembered her friends who had died because they trusted the aliens. "Admiral," the communications officer called out, "we're receiving surrender signals from the planet." Vasquez's voice was cold as ice. "Tell them we don't accept surrenders. Tell them this is what happens when you betray humanity." The bombardment continued for 6 hours. When it was over, Proxima Centauri was a dead world. Nothing moved on its surface. Nothing would ever move there again. But the humans weren't finished. The fleet jumped to the next Confederation world, then the next. Each time the pattern was the same. The aliens would try to defend themselves using tactics that were thousands of years old. The humans would use new strategies that the aliens couldn't understand or counter. At Vega Prime, a Zephyrin industrial world, the humans used biological weapons based on their knowledge of alien physiology. The insect-like Zephyrins died by the billions as engineered viruses swept through their hives. At Tau Ceti, a Valdris research colony, the humans turned the aliens' own experiments against them. Peaceful research stations became weapon factories. Scientific equipment became tools of destruction. Dr. Tanaka, now serving as the fleet's chief scientist, coordinated many of these attacks from her ship in the fleet. She had become an expert at turning alien technology into weapons of mass destruction. "The beautiful thing about the Confederation," she explained to her team, "is that they're all connected. Their communication networks, their transportation systems, their power grids. We can use those connections to spread destruction faster than they can stop it." On Rigel 7, the humans introduced computer viruses into the alien networks. The viruses were based on the same technology the aliens had used to spy on Earth but turned around and improved. Within days, every computer system on the planet had crashed. The aliens were thrown back to the Stone Age overnight. Back on Earth, humanity watched the war with mixed feelings. The aliens had tried to commit genocide, and now humans were doing the same thing to them. Some people wondered if this made humanity just as bad as their enemies. But most people remembered what the aliens had planned for Earth. They remembered the betrayal at Kepler Station. They remembered the sleeper agents who had been planning humanity's destruction for years. The galaxy had taught humanity that mercy was a weakness that could get you killed. Admiral Vasquez stood in her ready room, looking at reports from the various battle groups. 12 Confederation worlds had been destroyed. Billions of aliens were dead. The mighty empire that had ruled the galaxy for millennia was falling apart. But the most important target was still ahead. "Captain Chen," she called over the intercom, "set course for Arcturus. It's time to visit the Confederation capital." The journey to Arcturus took a week. During that time, the human fleet grew larger as more ships arrived from Earth. By the time they reached the Confederation capital, there were over 300 human vessels ready for battle. Arcturus was the most heavily defended world in the galaxy. Massive space stations surrounded the planet like a metal shell. Fleets from all 12 member species patrolled the system. It was supposed to be unconquerable. The aliens had learned from their defeats. This time, they were ready for human tactics. They had spread their defenses out to prevent boarding actions. They had isolated their computer networks to stop virus attacks. They had prepared for everything humans had done before. But humans were good at adapting. New plan, Vasquez announced to her fleet commanders. We're not going to attack their defenses. We're going to ignore them. The human fleet split into small groups and jumped directly to the planet's surface. Their ships were small enough and fast enough to slip through the orbital defenses. By the time the alien fleets could respond, human forces were already on the ground. The battle for Arcturus lasted 3 days. It was fought in the streets of the Confederation capital, in the halls of government buildings, in the chambers where the alien leaders had planned humanity's extinction. The aliens fought desperately, but they were fighting on ground that humans controlled. Every building became a fortress. Every street became a killing ground. Every room became a tomb. On the final day, Captain Chen led a team into the Confederation Council chambers. The alien leaders were huddled inside, protected by their best soldiers. They had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. They had thought they were untouchable. They were wrong. When the battle was over, the Confederation government was gone. The leaders who had ordered humanity's destruction were dead. The empire that had tried to wipe out an entire species had fallen. Admiral Vasquez stood in the ruined council chamber, looking at the bodies of the aliens who had betrayed humanity's trust. She felt no satisfaction, only a cold sense of completion. The galaxy had taught humanity that survival required strength, that mercy was weakness, that the only way to be safe was to make sure your enemies could never threaten you again. The lesson was complete. Outside, human ships patrolled the skies above Arcturus. Soon, those ships would spread out across the galaxy, bringing humanity's new order to every world. The age of the Confederation was over. The age of humanity had begun. 2 years had passed since the fall of Arcturus. Admiral Helena Vasquez walked through the corridors of the former Confederation capital, now renamed Terra Nova. The alien architecture had been modified to suit human needs, but the building still felt strange and cold. The galaxy was quiet now. Too quiet. Human fleets patrolled every sector where Confederation forces had once ruled. Alien worlds that had survived the initial wave of attacks now lived under human occupation. The species that had once commanded star systems were now refugees on their own planets. Vasquez entered what had once been the Confederation Council chamber. Now it served as the headquarters for the Human Colonial Authority. Maps covered the walls, showing the new reality of galactic politics. Red zones marked dead worlds. Yellow zones showed occupied territories. Green zones indicated full human control. There was a lot of green on those maps. Captain Sarah Chen, now promoted to Commodore, stood beside a holographic display showing ship movements throughout the galaxy. She looked older than her years, worn down by the weight of what humanity had become. "Report," Vasquez ordered. Chen gestured to the display. "Fleet Group Alpha has completed pacification of the Rigel sector. No remaining resistance. Fleet Group Beta is conducting operations in the Vega system. Light resistance from Zephyr and holdouts, but nothing our forces can't handle." Vasquez nodded. The reports were always the same these days. Human forces advancing, alien resistance crumbling, new worlds falling under human control. It was efficient. It was effective. It was everything the old humanity would have found horrifying. But the old humanity had been naive. The old humanity had believed in trust and cooperation and peaceful coexistence. The old humanity had been betrayed and nearly destroyed because of those beliefs. The new humanity knew better. Dr. Harrison entered the chamber carrying a data tablet. As humanity's chief scientist, he now oversaw research on dozens of worlds. His laboratories were working on projects that would have been unthinkable before the war. Weapons that could destroy entire solar systems, plagues that targeted specific alien species, technologies that made human rule absolute and unbreakable. "The integration programs are proceeding ahead of schedule," he reported. "Altarian genetic modifications are showing promising results. Within a generation, we should have a completely loyal population. Vasquez studied the data on Harrison's tablet. The genetic modifications were designed to make aliens psychologically incapable of rebelling against human authority. It was more efficient than constant military occupation, and it guaranteed that the mistakes of the past would never be repeated. Some people called it slavery. Vasquez called it survival. "What about the Valdris?" she asked. Harrison's expression darkened. The Valdris had been the most difficult to control. Their peaceful nature made them seem harmless, but it also made them resistant to human authority. They kept trying to negotiate, to find diplomatic solutions to appeal to humanity's better nature. They didn't understand that humanity's better nature had died at Kepler Station. "The Valdris population has been reduced," Harrison said carefully. "The survivors are being relocated to controlled habitats where they can be properly supervised." Vasquez knew what that meant. The Valdris were being kept in camps, their culture destroyed, their children raised to serve human masters. It was brutal, but it was necessary. The galaxy had taught humanity that mercy was weakness. A communication alert sounded, and Lieutenant Webb's voice came through the speakers. He now served as head of human intelligence, managing spy networks across the galaxy. "Admiral, we have a situation developing in the Outer Rim. Long-range sensors are detecting unknown ships." Vasquez and Chen exchanged glances. Unknown ships could mean only one thing: aliens that humanity hadn't encountered yet. Aliens who might pose a threat to human dominance. "How many ships?" Vasquez asked. "Estimated 40 vessels, Admiral. They're not using any technology we recognize. They appear to be approaching from outside the galaxy." Vasquez felt a familiar cold feeling in her stomach. New aliens meant new potential threats. It meant the possibility of another betrayal, another attempt to destroy humanity. It meant the cycle might start again. "Prepare the fleets," she ordered. "All available ships to the Outer Rim. We'll meet these newcomers on our terms." Chen hesitated. "Admiral, shouldn't we try to communicate with them first, learn their intentions?" Vasquez turned to look at her old friend. Chen was one of the few people who remembered what humanity had been like before the war. Sometimes that memory made her weak. "We tried communication before, Commodore. We tried trust and cooperation. We learned that aliens will smile at you while they plan your extinction." Vasquez's voice was hard as steel. "We won't make that mistake again." The human fleet that assembled in the Outer Rim was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. 500 ships, each one armed with weapons that could crack planets. The technology was a mixture of human innovation and alien science, improved and perfected through years of war. At the center of the fleet was the UES Retribution, Admiral Vasquez's new flagship. It was 10 times larger than the old Defiance, and 1,000 times more deadly. Its weapons could sterilize entire worlds from orbit. Its armor could withstand anything the old Confederation had ever built. When the unknown ships appeared on the edge of the system, they were met by overwhelming force. The alien vessels were elegant things, built from materials that seemed to shift and flow like liquid metal. They moved gracefully through space, their hulls gleaming with unknown energies. They looked peaceful, almost beautiful. Vasquez had learned not to trust beautiful things. "This is Admiral Helena Vasquez of the Human Colonial Authority," she broadcast on all frequencies. "You have entered human space without authorization. State your intentions or face the consequences." The response came in perfect English, which immediately made Vasquez suspicious. How did these aliens know human language? "Greetings, Admiral." "Vasquez. We are the Etherians, representatives of the Galactic Preservation Society. We have come to investigate reports of massive ecological and population destruction in this region." Vasquez smiled coldly. Galactic Preservation Society. It sounded like exactly the kind of organization that would try to interfere with human expansion. "The territories you refer to are under human jurisdiction," she replied. "We don't recognize the authority of your organization." "Admiral, we understand you have had conflicts with the local species. We are here to help mediate a peaceful solution. Violence is never the answer to galactic disputes. Chen looked at Vasquez hopefully. These aliens seemed different. They were talking about peace, about mediation. Maybe humanity could find a different path. But Vasquez had heard those words before. The Confederation had talked about peace too, right up until they tried to commit genocide. There is no dispute, Vasquez said. There is only human authority and alien compliance. If you want peace, you will leave this region immediately and never return. The Etherian response was tinged with sadness. Admiral, we have been monitoring this galaxy for millions of years. We know about the ancient human civilization that once flourished here. We know about their fall and their rise again in you, but this path you're on, this conquest and destruction, it will only lead to your own extinction. Vasquez felt ice in her veins. These aliens knew about ancient humanity. They had been watching, monitoring, probably planning. They were just another threat that needed to be eliminated. You have 30 seconds to leave this system, she said. After that, we will consider you hostile. Admiral, please listen. We are not your enemies. We want to help you find a better way. The galaxy is vast enough for all species to coexist peacefully. 20 seconds. Chen stepped forward. Admiral, maybe we should hear them out. They don't seem hostile. Vasquez turned to look at her subordinate. The Confederation didn't seem hostile either, Commodore, right up until they tried to murder us all. 10 seconds. The Etherian ships began to move, but not to retreat. They were forming some kind of pattern, their hulls glowing brighter. It looked like they were preparing for combat, or maybe they were preparing something worse. Time's up, Vasquez said. All ships open fire. The human fleet unleashed everything it had. Weapons that had destroyed worlds focused on the elegant alien ships. The firepower was enough to sterilize a dozen planets. But the alien ships didn't die. The weapons passed through them like they were made of light. The aliens' hulls rippled and flowed, absorbing the energy and converting it into something else. The Etherian ships continued their graceful dance untouched by humanity's most powerful weapons. Impossible, Chen whispered. Vasquez felt a familiar anger rising in her chest. Another alien species with superior technology, another threat to human dominance, another betrayal waiting to happen. All ships ramming speed, she ordered. If we can't shoot them, we'll run them down. But as the human ships accelerated toward their targets, the Etherian vessels simply vanished. They faded away like morning mist, leaving nothing behind but empty space. A final message came through the communication systems. We are sorry for what you have become, children of Earth. When you are ready to choose a different path, we will be waiting. Then silence. To be